Just killed it.
You made the decision to play Thiago. Klopp doesn't change the system since Luvac left. You don't want to change from the 4-3.
Boom, boom, boom. What's going on, people? We are back again on the Jerry James Show. Thank you guys for everyone else who's just tuning in today, because this is obviously a members video. So I appreciate you guys obviously supporting the channel by becoming a member. And listen, as I said, we're going to get that good content out to you guys. And this one, I'm really interested to go and get into, because on the eve, we're doing this, on the 21st of February, on the day of Liverpool taking on Luton, and injuries are rife. Injuries are getting hectic. They're getting mad. And there's been a lot of discussion surrounding, Liverpool and injuries, and Liverpool, the medical department, and certain players can't be fit, and Liverpool always signing injury-prone players. Klopp, overriding the medical department's decisions, and Klopp, overusing players and overworking players in training. There's so many theories and conspiracy theories surrounding Liverpool when it comes to injuries, especially in recent years where, we've had seasons where after winning the league, we ended up, scraping fourth. And then last season, obviously, we saw how that turned out as well. So I thought, for the members, why not take a closer look at the injuries? And thought to myself, who best to discuss this with? Who's going to be the most logical? Who's got a background in medical science from the University of Harvard? And I said to myself, there's only one guy for the job, and that was G. G, what are you telling me, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Guys, if you ever need anybody, to go through, the medical science and stuff like that, do not call me. Nah, man. Should be a good little show to chop it up. You guys don't even know. Big up all the members, by the way, who are here in the building watching this, of course, on the replay. Make sure you're, one of the main things, still make sure you're smashing that like button. And again, for those who are not members, guys, don't show this to them. No, they got to become a member first, and then they can see the secret content that, Jerry's got going on his channel, man. Good stuff, very informative. Make sure you guys have checked out his previous videos as well. But yeah, man, should be a good show to chop up.
Yeah, man, we'll be really good. We'll be really, really good. So, guys, make sure, please, you're smashing the like. And you know what? One thing I'll tell them, though, you've got license. If there's anything that you like, clip it up and put it on socials. If you want to clip certain bits up and you want to have it for your reference, if you want to go and, screenshot certain stats that we're going to have and numbers, feel free to go and do it, because, listen, that's still obviously helping the channel grow as well. But let's get into it, man. Injuries at Liverpool. When I say that to you, G, what do you feel? What are the connotations surrounding injuries? Is it a massive issue? Is it just part and parcel of football? There's so many different kind of discussions that are going around in regards to Liverpool at the moment surrounding injuries anyway.
You know what's so crazy? When I think injuries at Liverpool, I just think Klopp. Like, I think Klopp straight away. I like that. That's the word that really comes into my head is Klopp. Klopp, injuries, Klopp. It's just something that kind of goes hand in hand. With Liverpool, we can say it is part and partial, but with Liverpool, you've got the stats, and it's going to be so jokes to actually show this properly to people, to actually see the injuries at Liverpool is becoming like a major issue, and it's becoming something that I don't understand. Maybe you can help me understand why we're getting some of these injuries, how they're coming about and things like that. But yeah, man, I can't just say it's part and part of football, because yes, to some degree, but not to the degree that Liverpool continuously keep getting it, man.
Cool. What's the reason then? Why do you think Liverpool get so many injuries? Because of course there's a discussion. It's Klopp. Klopp's, do you know what I mean? He's got his gun to John Powers' head. Do you know what I mean? The club doctor, and telling him, you've got to play these players. Like, we need them back. Is it the medical staff not doing their due diligence and bringing back players earlier than they should, especially when talking about this season? Is it overwork by Kravitz and Pep Linders in regards to getting us fit and playing that style of football? Is it the players themselves? Are the players just not as professional as they should be? What do you think it is, man? Because there's a lot of reasons as to why that could be the case.
The easy answer is all the above. But if I was to look at it, for me, it has to be it has to be more majority towards Jurgen Klopp, man, because you got to think about the way that Liverpool play. You got to think about the style, the intensity, and everything about Liverpool. That's gonna ultimately bring this amount of injuries anyway. So cool, you got that part. So he plays his part in in that kind of degree. But then at the same time, I then look at the medical department. Not that they're rushing players back, more so that they're almost judging the situation wrong in a certain sense of, okay, this player's had this type of if a player has a certain type of injury, whether it be muscle or whatever type of injury, I always think to myself, okay, you said this player's out for 6 matches. He's going to need, I don't know, another after the 6 matches, he's going to need 3 weeks for recovery, and etc., etc. Okay, that's not a problem. Remember, are you saying that he needs 3 weeks recovery in a normal team with not this amount of intensity? Or are you just saying for this specific team under Jurgen Klopp, he needs 3 weeks and he'll be fine? Because it seems like we'll give a man a time frame and then, yeah, no, don't worry, couple weeks and he should be back, he should be fine. But then they're taking longer and longer. Is it because, go back to Jurgen Klopp, the intensity that he brings in training? They play training like they do matches. I'm like, bro, it's training, Can you imagine back in the day playing some of your training sessions ready to off man basically on the pitch? These times I'm playing with him on Sunday, and I've still got to worry about flying into tackles and
do you not think that's something that like happens at elite clubs? Like when you go and hear, I don't know, Rio Ferdinand or Robbie Keane or Gary Neville talking about training, they say the reason why they were so good is that it was so intense. They trained as they meant to play. There's the saying, isn't it? Train or prepare how you mean to go on, train as you mean to go and play. So when it comes to game day, you're doing what you've been doing for the past week, as opposed to having a lower intensity and then having to pick it up. I know Hazard is one that, John Obi Mikel on this podcast has recently been saying, and John Terry as well, where in training, they're all like at game level intensity, like sliding in, trying to crunch man, because that's the mentality. And then you had Hazard that comes in and he just like, I don't really care, shut up, I don't really want to train. But then on game day, you can turn it up. Is that not just an expectation of football nowadays?
I think no, it's an expectation, but then I go back to remember, like the level of I feel like the level of intensity at Liverpool is a lot higher than it is or was at the Chelseas, the Manchester Uniteds, and stuff like that. So I'm not saying don't have intensity. Of course, you need a level of intensity, but at the same time, when players are coming back from injuries and stuff like that, I feel like we're seemingly again, just by on the stats and what's happening, it just seems like these players are coming back into the exact same level of intensity that, they were previously at, and their bodies are just not ready for that. So are we, again, I don't know what these doctors are doing. So I don't want to stick it on them and say, it's you, Jim Moxon or Jonathan or John Power, whoever it is. Like, I can't say it's you guys because I don't know if it's just solely down to you. But I do think that the correlation between manager and the medical department, something is seemingly always going wrong, because if we, and I guess we'll take a look at it anyway, forget even the amount of games these players are missing and stuff like that, bro. If we just look at the types of injuries some of these guys are getting, they're the same injury that they were getting injured in the first place. Like, it's the same reoccurring injury, or it's an injury in training. And I'm just like, what? Like, how intense are you guys in training that Donny just came back and he got injured again in training? And I'm just like, bro, like, maybe there does need to be a better correlation between medical department and the management staff. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely hear it, man. And look, what I decided to go and do, and it's good, obviously, we've got the medical genius G in it. We've got Dr. G in the building. We got Dr. G because I said to myself, I really want to find out what the problem is and what's the root cause of what's going on. Now, there's a lot of discussions as we just spoke about. It could be Klopp, it could be the medical department, it could be everything under the umbrella. It could be the fact that the players aren't preparing properly, because there's some players that hardly ever get injured in our team. Like Van Dijk's never injured, Salah's never injured. And I know it's quite ironic because he's actually out. Going to be out for this game and looking like a doubt for the Carabao Cup final on Sunday. But technically, throughout his career at Liverpool, he has not been injured. There are some players, however, the likes of Lallana, Naby Keita, Nathaniel Klein, Joe Gomez, Matip, that are systematically injured and have been injured whilst throughout their careers at Liverpool. So I said to myself, let's go back in time. Let's go and have a look at, Liverpool under Klopp. And I said, let's look at his first full season. So I'm not taking into consideration, that October to May or whatever, when you then played the Europa League final and lost that, because of course a lot of the players would be Brendan Rodgers players. A lot of this team would be a Brendan Rodgers team or a team that FSG have gone and put in place. I said, let's go and have a look at Klopp's first full season in charge of Liverpool and see how the injuries look and how they actually change over time. I think that's interesting to obviously go and have a look at. So the first one we're going to get at is obviously Klopp comes in at 16 October. This is 17. So as you guys can see here, these are games. So we're looking at Premier League games and the amount of Premier League games that our players or players at the time that played for Liverpool have gone and missed out of injury. All the data has come directly from Transfer Mark. So if you want to go and reference that and check for yourself, you can do. So of course, the biggest injury in this season obviously was Danny Ings. We know about Danny Ings and the injury that he had because he signed the season before, had that terrible knee rupture that kept him out. And I think there was a lot, and I don't know if you recall, I remember the Liverpool fan base really waiting for Danny Ings, thinking that Danny Ings under Klopp would be perfect. Looking at Danny Ings, how we done for Burnley, it was, oh my God, this guy's going to turn up. We've now got Danny Ings, of course. Sturridge is still in the building. But he was supposed to be spearheading, I guess, or being part of a duo alongside, obviously, Sturridge in the front line. And he was gone for a lot of games. You obviously got Henderson that missed 12 games throughout injury as well, which is quite big. Sturridge, 10 games. We've got Coutinho with 7 and Joe Gomez with 12 that actually didn't play any first team games, even though he was a first team player because he came back from injury, missed 12 games and then played a lot of under 21 games as well. So that's something like to look at. But in total, players missed 102 games in the Premier League through injury. Do you look at that and think, I feel that there's anything mad in what we're seeing here, in your opinion?
Obviously, it's a first season, so if we all try cast our minds back to when Jurgen Klopp kind of came in, and we saw the difference. I think in our first match against Tottenham, and we drew that game, and we all saw the difference in the intensity and the playing style of Liverpool, which was we wanted to run more. Like that was the first thing I just remember thinking. I'm seeing Lallana running more. Origi, I think, played that match. Moreno, like I just remember running in that game. And then they brought up all the stats and were like, yeah, look at the difference between Liverpool in this game and, Brendan Rodgers' last game. So I thought, okay, this guy's coming in. He's making Liverpool work like hard. All right, cool. Let's kind of wait and see. And then, I mean, Jerry's done the numbers there. I didn't even know the numbers were that mad. Like we missed 100. Bearing in mind, what competition were we in that season? We were only in
FA Cup, Carabao Cup.
FA Cup, Carabao Cup, and League. So, and FA Cup, Carabao Cup, we got knocked out at some point, obviously, because we didn't win it. So,
were we in Europa? I'm trying to think. Were we in Europa? I don't think
the
so.
season before.
Because we got to
remember because he finished 8th. No, remember because I'm sure we finished 8th.
And we got to the semi-final, and there was no conference, or anything like that. So you're right, there was no conference. So we weren't in Europa. So that was strictly domestic. It was a strictly domestic season. We were a Brexit team. It was FA Cup. That's it.
Like, so you're saying in a season where you're guaranteed to play a minimum of 40 matches, and I say 40, 38 Premier League matches, and one FA Cup game, one Carabao. Yeah, one of each. That's just at minimum. Obviously, we probably clearly progressed in whatever competitions, but didn't get to the final. So we had players who missed 102 games. At the time, I think I just remember thinking, nah, man, it's the intensity there. I remember, and this was, by the way, guys, this is me giving Klopp an out. This I know I wasn't always against Klopp. I used to be like, nah, man, this was the players are not really used to it, man. Listen, when he gets a couple seasons in, the intensity, the players will, they'll get used to it, blah blah blah. And obviously we'll get onto that the next seasons and stuff like that. But I didn't think anything of it too much. I wasn't so bothered about it. I don't know about you, but I just thought, nah, it wasn't too mad. Like,
I don't think we were. I think we remember that obviously this was still very much a Brendan Rodgers team.
Yeah.
He's still trying to start to assemble his squad. So he's signing the likes of Grujic that came in, obviously in that window. Gini Wijnaldum came in, Sadio Mane came in, and there was a lot of optimism surrounding that. So even though there were a lot of injuries, I think when we look at it, look, we've got a massive, obviously, and that can happen in a season where a player's out for the majority of the season, if not the whole of it. So Danny Ings missed 34 games, and that was literally he got fit towards the back end of the season, and we remember him obviously making a couple of appearances. The rest of them, look, even Sturridge, a player that we went and called, very, very injury prone, only missed 10 games through injury. Now had a couple of other absences, but through injury, he only missed 10 games. So for him, he's still playing about 28 games in the Premier League. You've got Joe Gomez that was available, but he was trying to go and get fit, and after the
he had a bad injury, to be fair. Yeah.
Exactly. So he's playing under 21 games to try and get himself up to par and up to level because it was a bad injury. You've got Henderson there, was obviously got 12 games missed through injury. So he was quite injury prone, and he was our captain at the time. So that was obviously a big miss, but relatively, Matip only 6 games. Lovren didn't miss a game, and he was our main centre back. We had Saka for actually he left the season before, but we had Saka that obviously was there earlier on. We had Klavan that played a lot of games, so we had Leiva. We had a lot of players that could go and fill in different roles. So I wasn't looking at this game at these injuries as anything crazy. I think 100 games between how many players is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 isn't that bad. Like 14, 102 isn't too bad. Moving on, obviously this is 17, 18 now. Now, we're missing more games.
Not by much,
still a Brexit team. But it's not too big of a jump.
This year, did we get into 17?
No, 18? we did. So the season before we finished 8th. This season, this season we got into the Champions League.
Yeah, this season we got a Champions League.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember.
We got Chat 4, and then this is the season where obviously we're in the Champions League, so we're playing. We're now a continental team. Liverpool's back in Europe. We're still fighting on all fronts in terms of obviously we're still minimum of 40 games in the league. League, FA Cup, and Carabao Cup. But we've only missed 7 more games through injury, and we're playing way more games, more intensity, more travel. The biggest injury that we've got this season was Lallana with 17, but that obviously was a big player for us in the season before, especially when Klopp came in. Moreno with 9, Chan with the same amount. We've got Kleiny, that was a big one. So Klein, again, a massive player for Liverpool. At the time, a very solid right back, and a player that we thought we could be part of the core of Liverpool. I don't think there was any, as Liverpool fans, we weren't like, we need to get another right back. It was, we need Klein back. Like, Klein needs to come back because he had the injury. Trent obviously emerged in this season, and we know what's obviously happened from then in regards to Trent and Klein. But again, we're playing in Europe now, and seemingly the medical department, not only is it doing well, in my opinion, it's actually exceeding expectations in terms of we're really fit. We're missing the same amount of injuries on average, playing more games. We've got one big injury this season, which was obviously Klein. We've signed some players. We've got Sturridge that's missed obviously 10 games through injury, and then obviously moves up to West Brom. We've got obviously Vitor Coutinho that moved to Barca. We've got Van Dijk coming in, so he missed 2 games technically through injury that season with a thigh problem at Liverpool at the beginning before he made his debut. Seemingly, like, if you were to use the argument that the medical department aren't doing their job correctly, that would be incorrect, as in they are. If not, they're actually doing very, very well. And Klopp's methods in terms of our ability to go and run, we're playing multiple games. Do you know what I mean? That argument's flawed, isn't it? Like, he's doing fine. Klopp can't be the issue here. There seems to not be any issue, to be fair.
And you know what's mad? I just looked at the league table. We finished 2 points behind City that season, who finished 3rd. So
Yes.
we could have, and that's mad. Like again, this is all a blur to me, to be honest.
Guardiola's first season.
Guardiola's first season. So Liverpool, Manchester City really have been doing this thing for the last few years. But yeah, if I'm looking at the amount of games, I think that graph you just showed there is it Klein's missed 31, and the one prior to that was Ings had missed 34. So in and around the same amount of games in terms of one player who's going to miss like a chunk of it. As you mentioned before, you usually get like potentially one. The rest, again, in and around the kind of same. I'm going to even exclude Van Dijk because he was playing at Southampton prior to that. So if you just look at and Coutinho, of course, ended up, moving on. It's not really, like, it's not mad. Like when I think about it, it's not. Obviously, Lallana's got 17. Matip's, his has gone up from the previous season, which he got 6. It's now gone up by an extra 5 matches. Henderson's, I think, gone down by 1. Wijnaldum's actually gone up by 2 because he obviously got 1 in that first season that he joined. Gomez is Gomez. Again, it's hard to really judge that one. But again, I wouldn't be putting this on the medical team if I'm being totally honest with you, because we're playing more matches just by. I think we spoke about it before. You got 38 matches that you're guaranteed to play, plus your 6 Champions League games that you're guaranteed to play. So you're talking about 44 matches guaranteed, plus the 2 domestic cups. So that's 46 matches. And you're saying, so take off that 46. If I'm being honest, that's in and around, do you know what I mean? The kind of number that not you expect, because you don't want anybody to get injured, but I'm not looking at that number and thinking, oh, that's a madness. And with the type of quality of player that we had, for us to have had the season that we had, where we got to the Champions League final that year, finished 4th in the league, 2 points behind Manchester City, who are obviously Pep Guardiola's just come in. I feel like that one, I would have just chalked it down to take out the massive injury from Nathaniel Klein. It wouldn't have looked so mad. Like you're going down to a smaller number. If I'm being like under 100 games that we would have missed if you took out Nathaniel Klein's massive injury, and then obviously Trent coming in. So yeah, it doesn't look too much, but for the tacticos and all the statistic guys and the medical science guys, they're probably looking at it thinking, okay, he's still maintaining that over 100 mark of how many matches these guys are actually missing. Even though, yes, they're playing more matches, but they're still missing over 100 games, prior to, the season before that, missing 100, over 100. This season, missing over 100. So maybe they're looking at it thinking, is that a problem, or is that just a somewhat calm number to be around? Because you're like, okay, because of the intensity that Klopp brings, whether it's Klopp, the staff, and whatever, we expect this kind of number. And again, if we take out Nathaniel Klein's actual 31, you're talking about it's under 100 games. So, I'm trying to provide some type of context. Again, I'm not looking at this, and guys, I just want to reiterate, I'm still not even blaming Klopp at this point. I'm still looking at it thinking, nah, don't worry, guys. You know what I mean? We'll be calm. We'll be fine. Like, it's just the team. They're still somewhat getting used to it. And we also had new players who were coming in as well. I think Salah joined that season. Van Dijk obviously joining in January. Coutinho leaving. Like, there was so much going around and going on. It was just more about, are there players in this list here that you just put up and players in the previous list? Are they the same players who are continuously getting injured? I think that's more what I'm looking at. 16, 17, you've got, I think Jordan Henderson missing 12. So he's on the list. Henderson again missing 6. So I'm more looking at the Lallana. Lallana's went up by 10. I'm trying to say. Gomez, Wijnaldum.
Games.
Yeah, so that's what I'm looking at more. Emre Can is actually on the list. I forgot about him. I'm looking at those kind of things more so than blaming the staff, so to speak. I'm more thinking, are these guys just injury prone? Like, are they just prone to getting these kind of injuries? So yeah, that's.
But I guess what injuries happen in the game, isn't it? For someone not to play 30 is unheard of. So for someone to play 38, 40 games, 50 games consecutively on the bounce, I know there's a stat in regards to Iñaki Williams because he's played every single game. He's played like 70 games or 80 games. That's a mad stat. Like, that doesn't happen. When I'm looking at it, each player could have 5 or 6 games missed through injury. If it's not all at the same time, which then affects the team, that's fine because that happens in a season. So I wasn't too fussed with that. And then moving on, this is obviously 18-19. And this is obviously a very, very successful season for Liverpool. Liverpool challenging for the title. So taking massive steps in, the league, because we were fourth, so the season has to be more intense. There's more onus on winning every single game. As we know with that season, we really, really pushed ourselves, lost the season by a point. So it was very, very difficult to take. However, in the Champions League, we're very, very, very dominant. Very, very dominant. Got to back-to-back Champions League finals, which was a massive, massive, obviously, mental push as well. And we're missing more games, which is 122. But again, very similar stats. We have maybe there's a couple more in there, which is obviously and I'll talk about them now. But I'm looking here, and Chamberlain is the one this season that misses a lot of games, because on the back end of obviously the Champions League running, we remember he done his knee, which was obviously a massive injury for him, and he never ever recovered from. Do you know what I mean? That first season he had at Liverpool. Joe Gomez, of course, is Joe Gomez, and gets another nasty injury where obviously he ruptures that knee as well, when he's actually, I think he was playing at right back in that game, where he runs down the line and I think he does his knee, and I think he's finished in that one. And then Lovren is one that obviously misses 17 games through injury, which is a massive, massive issue. However, Matip doesn't miss a single game. Matip does not miss a single game, and the partnership between Virgil van Dijk and Matip is solid. I'm looking at it, and of course you have Lallana there, who's now becoming a systematic, becoming an injury-prone player, because in 17-18 he missed 17 games. He misses 14 games the season afterwards. We know he didn't play a massive, massive part. He was used sporadically as well. He was on the bench for a lot of games, but I think that's fine. I'm looking at 5s, 3s from Klein, and although Klein, asterisk there, forgot to actually leave it in there, but he obviously moved to Bournemouth on loan. But it looks fine. Fabinho misses 1. Henderson's has gone down from 7 games to 4 games. Matip, misses 5 games. I said here. Milner misses 1 game. Robertson misses 1 game. So we've got players that can go and rotate, and the squad's bigger now because we've got more players. We're challenging on all fronts. 122 games missed doesn't really suggest any. I don't think there's anything wrong with that number. And we were very successful. It was a successful season.
Could you just go back to the 17-18? I was just counting up the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the only thing I'm looking at between 17-18 and 18-19 is now we've had more players injured. So the numbers, Gomez, we know, as you mentioned already, Ox, Lallana, they're becoming more systematically just injury-prone players anyway. So we can see that. But the number of players now, Robertson obviously missed a game there. And a few other players have been added now to that list. But what we are
Robertson,
seemingly...
Keita,
Fabinho,
Trent.
Yeah. Trent, oh shit, I didn't even clock. Trent at the top there. Yeah, do you get what I mean? So when I'm looking at it, I'm sitting there thinking, all right, so again, for the third season in a row, third full season anyway, in a row, we've got one player who misses 30 plus matches. So obviously this time it being Oxlade-Chamberlain in this one. Previous season, it was Nathaniel Klein. Previous season before that, it was Danny Ings. So we're always having at least one player every season, clearly, who's missing a massive chunk of football. Fair enough. So if I take out that one player, is it still going to be below the 100-game mark? And again, if we look at the 17-18 season, take out Oxlade-Chamberlain on 33, it's below the 100 mark. Do you get what I'm trying to say? For the 18-19 season, sorry. When you look at it, it's, do you get what I mean? So we will be below, we're 90-something, but it's below that 100 mark. So again, going so far, obviously winning the Champions League. So that means you've had to play 6+. I don't even know how many knockout matches that we've had to play in that time. Obviously, you got your FA Cup and your League Cup games, plus your 38 Premier League matches. Again, it's not even too much of an issue. The only issue I'm finding with all of these thus far is the Oxlade-Chamberlains, the Lallanas, the Gomez's. That's when we're really looking at these certain players and we're saying, these guys are just injury prone now, because we can't just keep chalking it off and saying, oh, obviously we can, the medical team plus the staff, they all have a part to play. Everyone has a part to play. Players have a part to play. But I can't just keep chalking it off on those guys, because it's seemingly the same ones who are coming up every single season and they're missing so much football. So I'm like, Is it the players? Is it Jurgen Klopp? And again, guys, and I'll keep reiterating this until we get to the season where it changed. I still wasn't even getting onto Klopp for the injuries at this point in time because I was genuinely looking at it and thinking, nah, it's the players, man. Nah, it's just Oxlade-Chamberlain, just injury prone, Klein, etc.
Think about when it's the certain players getting them, and we're still again take out that big injury from a player every season. We're below this 100 mark, this 100 game mark of injuries missed in the Premier League, which that seems to be the correlation between us having like good seasons. Every season's gotten better and better and better, and you coincide that with Klopp having more time with the team. We essentially reached the pinnacle of where we're fighting at the top of the table. We win the Champions League for the 6th time, which is a massive, massive accomplishment for Liverpool, especially considering missing out on it the season before in 17-18. It looks good, even though we've got more players injured. Again, if these players, we've got more players in the squad because we've added to the team. So the likes of Shaqiri have joined, the likes of Naby Keita has joined. We had Solanke that joined. There were so many players that joined in this period that our squad was bigger. So we may have more players that become injured, but they're not the average amount that we're missing, especially looking at that Premier League, is still about, do you know what I mean? It's under 100 games if we take out that big injury.
Exactly. And I think...
go on. So, no, go on.
No, like just to really jump on what you said, like it's just the same. We're missing games. Listen, nobody wants to miss over 50 games. If you can keep it down to that number, amazing. But I don't know for many teams, and I think even looking at it, I don't think there's any team who's really been able to have that kind of success rate where you've gone under 50 games for like in the Premier League for the entirety of a season. I'll struggle to find it. And again, people in the chat watching this video, maybe you can give us the teams.
Like
but
50 games is very easy. Look, in a 22-man squad, in a 30-man squad, right? 22-man, like you're talking 5 players just have to miss 10 games each in the league.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's 50 games. That's very difficult to go and do if you're playing every single week. So if you're a centre back, what Van Dijk did playing every single game of the season is very, very difficult to do. A lot of centre backs get injured because you're getting into battles a lot of the time. Strikers, wingers, they get injured because you're going to get tackled. It's a contact sport. So to expect that, it is mad. So it still seems all right. And then you move on to 19-20, of course. And this is the season where, especially in the Premier League, Liverpool achieve glory. Somehow.
Winners.
Premier League winners. We miss. The numbers decreased. It's dropped off in the Premier League. And we only miss 118 games in the league. As you just said, we take away the 29, the big injury every season, which was Klein, that wasn't even in the 30s. You're talking about 29 games missed. Take him out. He's now, although he's part of the first team over the last couple of seasons, exactly, he's not a starter because of Trent, and Trent emerged 2 seasons ago. So he's already had 1 season under his belt. This is now going into the 3rd season. He's on the bench, so we're not relying on him like that. But he's still a big part of the squad and could be used for rotation and could have maybe aided us in the Champions League potentially because we played a lot of games and we got knocked out in the Champions League that season by Atletico Madrid, was it?
Atletico Madrid, yeah. Atletico Madrid.
Take Klein out of that with 29 games. You're under the 100 game mark by a long shot. You're looking, you know what I mean? Like, you're in the 90s.
Yeah.
You're in 90 games. Like, also. So I'm looking at it, and look, Shaqiri's a big miss. Matip's, of course, a big miss. And again, certain players are keep getting injuries. Lovren's name keeps popping up. Klein's name keeps popping up. Milner, interestingly, always can pick up an injury. I know this is a long stint for him, 10 league games, but still he's picking up an injury. Salah gets 1 injury, Origi 1. Chamberlain's only missed 4 games and he was an injury-prone player. Lallana's not in the team anymore. We've got rid of those injury-prone players. We lose less games through injury in the Premier League and we win the league title. And when you look at it, it's only 4 games less. But that was the difference between us winning the league and not when we're looking exclusively at the Premier League. And that might have been the difference between that 1 point or not the season before.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just looking at 1 point, and that's with us having the 4 less the season before. And remember, there's no there's not context behind what Jerry's just showing you guys here. Is that, remember, we're not showing you the matches these guys are missing either. So imagine what games some of these players are actually missing. They're going to be some key games within those injuries that some of these players are missing. So yeah, to then know that the following season we could kind of see it though, like in that 19-20 season that you just showed there. As you mentioned, again, it is those same. Like, I'm not even including Klein because he wasn't even a first team player in my eyes. Like, I didn't even think about him that season. I'll just, for argument's sake, I'll use Shaqiri or Matic, 20 and 19, because they're obviously first team players. And as you said, we're under the 100. But I am, again, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Naby Keita, Lovren, as you mentioned, Matic. Like, I'm looking at Alisson missed 8 games. Did he miss 8 games then? Bloody hell.
Yes.
I'm looking at these players and I'm saying, taking out obviously Alisson because he never got injured like that. These are the same players cropping up. So again, now, and guys, like I told you, remember what I said. Now I'm more looking at it and I'm thinking, all right, I'm still not blaming Klopp for the intensity, but I am saying, bro, the same players are constantly getting injured, but we keep trying to use these same players. Are we now just only signing players who have some type of injury record, trying to do the money ball thing, get them for cheaper, or is it genuinely a deeper problem that, yes, me and Jerry have said explicitly a good few times, take out that one player who misses obviously a massive chunk of the season, but we are still getting numbers of 100 here, 100 and whatever, 22 here, 118 here, 100 and whatever. So I am still looking at it now thinking, okay, but I'm still not landing the blame on Klopp and the medical staff, because 18-19, 19-20, in fact 17-18 actually, 18-19, we get to the Champions League final in both of those 2 seasons. So there's going to be more legs and more games that the team is playing anyway, regardless of anything. So where they could have picked up an injury in a Champions League match, that's going to affect the Premier League game that they're missing. 18-19, 19-20, I know we didn't win the Champions League, but we still got through to the next, not the next round, I think the round after that, quarterfinals or whatever it is. So again, I am looking at it thinking, we are still playing a lot of games. We are playing a lot of games. So this is going to hit people, in a way, so to speak. So
and it's the
don't worry, guys, I hadn't turned yet.
And it's the accumulation as well, because from 16-17, we're playing this style of football that Klopp wants to go and play. That's very high energy, high press, high energy. As you said before, when Klopp first came in, it was, that first game against Tottenham, the running stats were up compared to Rodgers' last game and Klopp's first game. And it was like a 20% difference or something. It was like something ridiculous.
It was
something mad. So them doing this on a consistent basis with the team obviously changing gradually. But I would say from about 17-18, right? So it only took a season really for Klopp to establish his team or the team that he wanted. Of course, 16-17, when we got to look at the players that are injured as well, it is Sturridge, that's not a Klopp player. Ings is not a Klopp player. Bobby, I know Klopp used him and he became part of that Klopp player, but he's not. You've got Wijnaldum in there, but you've got the likes of Lovren, Klavan, Emre Can, Coutinho, Lucas Leiva that will all obviously move on in due course. You can see the team starting to change now here in terms of the players that are being injured. The players are now changing here, and you're looking and they're like, okay, this is now a Klopp team. This is a Klopp team, and this is when obviously we achieve getting to the Champions League final, finishing 4th, and then winning the Champions League, finishing 2nd off obviously by a point. Company slapping in from distance and then winning the Premier League ultimately. A lot of those players, the Wijnaldums, the Hendersons, the Milners, they're the core of what Liverpool are. And they're getting through a lot of games. You're talking 50, 60 games every season, as you just said, because we're in the Champions League now. 50, 60 games if you go and fight on all fronts. We move on to, obviously, the season after we win the league. A lot of optimism. I remember Liverpool getting that Nike deal. It looked like Liverpool were guys now. Like before, you were trying to convince man, like, I don't even want to wear the jewels and that because I'm not materialistic. I'm not that guy. Like I don't mind New Balance. And shout out to New Balance because I actually like New Balance. But you get my point. When the Nike come in and Liverpool get that Nike, and you're like, yeah, man, The,
We was all
like,
gas.
the
Don't
training
nobody lie.
gear now is there. You got LeBron shaking hands with like everything's buzzing. We're thinking, we're gonna go and get this. We're signing players. Jota signs. That's a big signing for Liverpool. And that's probably the only sign that we go and have. But we're confident in what the team can do, and we just want to go again. Boy,
yikes! Yikes!
You look at the total. This is a season that saw. Do you know what I mean? Our centre back become Kabak, no pun intended. Davies became ghost of the season. We had Reece Williams and Nat Phillips doing that. Do you know what I mean? Braveheart in a bid to
San Siro settings in that. You crazy?
San Siro, Naldini. You had the Van Dijk injury, and that was obviously a massive one. But we had massive amounts of injuries. 210 games missed.
So
Van Dijk
you see when I'm looking,
Gomez with 30, Matip 26 with the big ones, and then you got Keita, Jota, Thiago, Henderson, Chamberlain, Tsimikas, all out with 10 or more games.
You see when I look at this, you just mentioned it there, and I'm happy you just said that because I wasn't even thinking of it like this. You just mentioned about having like obviously Klopp's team, so obviously players that he signed since he's been here. So when I'm looking at this list now, 2021, Alisson, obviously Van Dijk, we know what obviously happened, but cool. Alisson, Van Dijk, Kabak. Did he sign Matip? Matip again, obviously he's there.
Yes.
Keita, Jota, Tsimikas, Fabinho, Thiago, Shaqiri, Salah, obviously is only one game, and Chamberlain and Ox. Now I'm starting to see more of his players that he signed picking up these injuries alongside Gomez, obviously doing his thing, getting injured as always, kind of thing. Milner again up there on this list. Like, I'm surprised. To be honest, I didn't really know how much Milner was actually getting injured in the Premier League, to be fair, but clearly he was getting injured. Obviously, we know Ox gets himself injured. Henderson again, another 12 games. Like that's quite a bit of games that you're missing as the captain
in the Premier League
of
alone,
the team.
Premier League
and that's what I'm saying. In the Premier League alone, and there's only 38 games. So do you get what I mean? If you're missing that many games, I'm like, okay, fair enough. And yeah, I'm looking at these kind of players, and I'm saying, so more of Jurgen. Obviously, we know the team has changed, and it's by this point now we're Premier League champions. Champions League champion or winners of the previous season. So obviously the team is going to change, but alongside a lot more of the players that Klopp is signing, the old ones are obviously still there. Now, this is where I was now starting to say, yo, Klopp, you've been here a good few years now. We let it slide the last couple seasons, but now too many, like Thiago coming in, misses 12 games, kind of thing. Henderson continuously is missing games. Matip is missing 20. Jerry, there's 38 matches in the Premier League. You're telling me that Matip missed 26 of those? Take out Van Dijk because obviously we know what happened with that injury, right? Gomez obviously picking up that injury on England duty, I think it was, or whatever madness that he had, kind of thing. I'm looking at some of these other players. Alisson again on the list. It's the second season in a row I'm seeing Alisson on the list missing a few games, and I'm like, this is Premier League.
Gomez 30.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. I'm like, this is the point, people. By the way, this is when I start to say, Klopp, I can't really keep. You know what I mean? I can allow it the first season, maybe 2 seasons, but now when you get into like the thirds and the fourth, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned because I'm like, well, who is it? Because the same players are getting injured. So what's the issue? What's the correlation there? But then now your new players, Thiago coming in, getting the injuries, Shaqiri getting the injuries. Do you know? I'm starting to wonder. Milner coming in and he's getting injuries. I'm starting to wonder what's kind of going on in training. Are we too intense? We've had a fantastic season, the 1920. Obviously, COVID. So maybe there might be a bit of context with that kind of thing. Fair enough. But we're getting injuries, and obviously Van Dijk and Gomez, they contribute for what's that? Basically half of our injuries, give or take. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, so it's not looking good for me anyway when I'm looking at Jurgen Klopp and also the medical team. But this is where I've not gotten to the medical team just yet. Now I'm just looking closely at Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because of course we obviously, if you go and have a look, Jim Moxon was obviously signed in 2016. Well, joined the club in 2016 and joined to become Liverpool's one of the main doctors and ultimately head doctor at one point in time. And you see from, we're looking at the season from 16, 17. So he's joining in that year. Klopp's first full season, Jim Moxon's essentially been the club doctor, the head doctor, right? That's gone and helped Liverpool essentially become and what they were in terms of winning the Premier League, Champions League, back-to-back Champions League finals, but then obviously keeping the numbers low. Now, something happens in 2020/2021, which you could look at as a bizarre season, like in terms of you don't expect Matip, Gomez, Van Dijk all to be out. That accumulate for 90 games just alone, roughly.
That's mad. 90
go and have a look. Because it looks around 90 games or so. Yeah, so 26, 30, and 33, about 90 games or so. Keita to be out for the whole for that 20 games as well, because the season before he was only out for 9. So if you were to just even keep it at 9, that's a double. That's double the amount of games that he was out for. Something's gone wrong. Now, of course, there were a lot of rumors of physios leaving, this person leaving, this dietitian, this nutritionist, this physio. People are leaving. There's starting to be an exodus at Liverpool. Jim Moxon's still at the club, but something's gone wrong here. Something's gone wrong. So as you said, you're still looking at, the players Liverpool are signing. At the time, I remember there was a debate on, are Liverpool signing injury-prone players? And we start looking at Naby Keita saying he's injury-prone. We're looking at Gomez thinking he's always getting injured. Matip, always getting injured. Those names are the ones that are circling about. Oxlade-Chamberlain, we start talking about the basement. The basement emerged.
That's where it kind of started, bro. That's where it kind of started,
isn't it? That's where it started. And then, of course, that happens. And then 21-22, after Alisson's heroics getting us, obviously, Champions League, we have what... And I think this is an unlucky. I think this was what was an unlucky season, purely because of the luck we had with injuries. We should have won everything. It came down to literally one game, one moment in a game. I don't know what else from a medical side we could do as a team. I don't know what else Klopp could do as a manager, because Alisson's still missing games, which is an issue, but he's gone down from 8 to 1, was it? 4 games to 1. So he's decreasing the amount of games he's missing. Kelleher missed 2, and obviously he's become a big part of Liverpool's ability to go and challenge on all fronts, because he's obviously he's one of the reasons why we won the Carabao Cup and FA Cup, because he played a lot of those early games as well, and obviously led us to the Carabao Cup. Van Dijk only missed 2 games, so that's a massive, obviously, drop off from 33 games missed to 2. Trent's missed 1. Matip, again, superb from him because he's only missed 2 games this season. Fabinho only missed 2. Jones becoming, obviously, a bigger presence in the squad, only missing 8. Milner missing 5, which is a decrease on the 7 before that. Elliott, he's the big injury this season, which was under 30 games with 18 games missed. Jota only misses 2, and he's part of that team that's looking quite injury. Well, we're not sure yet, but that season we're looking at him thinking, what's going on here? He wasn't too injury prone at the time, but if we are going to have a look at Jota, he's missed 17 games that season, so he's only missed 2. So in terms of fitness, he's done well. Minamino missed 1. Bobby is starting to pick up more injuries than he did 2-3 seasons ago, but still under that 20 mark. And when we've got, us signing Diaz, we've still got Mane in the team, we've got Minamino, we've got Salah, we've got players that can really help in the attacking lineup. So we're not too fussed about that. Thiago misses 10, but that's becoming an average for him, and we can look at him. Why did we sign him? And then Keita misses 6. So a good season in terms of availability. Somehow we only missed 84 games. We should have won more, but from a medical standpoint, our best season.
And from a medical standpoint, best season, but also I'm going to end up debunking this when we go into the next season. We start to rotate more. if you remember, Minamino was our top scorer in cup competitions, I think, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So where he can play those competitions, it leaves your Salah, Mane, Firmino, whatever. Even though Firmino did miss quite a lot of games, it just allows those guys to be fit and available for the league games. So where we're rotating a lot more in cup competitions, we're allowing for the league to be able to say, okay, cool. These guys are always fit, so we can keep our core players. When Liverpool have their core team and core players, they will notoriously, as they did in 18-19, 19-20, and obviously this season that you just shown here, they'll do well in the league, like usually, like second or first kind of thing. That's kind of, you know, the way that we'll do things. So when I'm looking at that, I'm like, so we got more players now. Yes, players are still picking up injuries. And again, this is where you're looking at certain players and saying, look, there has to be a conversation about letting, and there was, you remember during that time, yo, this player needs to go, he's too injury prone, that player needs to go, he's too injury prone kind of thing. Thiago, I know it's only 10 and it has decreased by 2, but you're over 10, or you're 10 plus regardless, and you've only been here for the 2 seasons.
When we were talking about, when, you know, the narrative was we had Gini Wijnaldum that missed, for his 5 seasons at the club, missed 5 games. In the Premier League, he missed 5 games out of injury. Thiago's missing 10 every single season. They were direct replacements for each other, not stylistically, but in terms of the amount of games that they played.
Positions.
I remember Thiago crying because he was injured for the FA Cup final, I think it was, or the Champions League final, whatever one it was, FA Cup, I think it was. And I had it with there. I said, I want him gone. I remember, I think I was on stream with you, and I said, look at my man crying. Look at him shedding his that he's injured. Get him out. I was like, I don't want to see him anymore. I was like, we just let go of a player that is available every single game. He's a key component of how Liverpool want to go and play. We're putting all our pressure now on this guy to remain fit because he is that good, and he will ultimately become the system. I think it's actually testament to how good Gini Wijnaldum was, that he was in midfield, the system, like Jones is right now. When Jones is not available, Liverpool look all over the place in midfield. That was Gini Wijnaldum, that was Thiago. The season he obviously, the back end of 2020, 2021, he was fit. We were able to go and obviously was fit towards the back end of the season. And when we had that consistency, we won a lot of games, got us into the Champions League. And then the season after, as we know, as we're discussing, 21-22, where Elliot had that injury, he played a lot of games. However, still missing 10 games towards the back end of the season, where ultimately things fell off. Things looked like they fell off for Liverpool, which, you know, that's an issue. But it wasn't like, objectively speaking, I know football's about winning and winning stuff. But if you were to average out our success across the season, that was probably our most successful season, because we got to the final of every single competition.
Of every competition.
And missed out by the league by a point again, or 2 points, or whatever it was, because Gerrard didn't do his business. And we could look at individual games we could have done better. Keita could have done better with his last-minute shot. So many, reasons as to why we didn't win those 2
only
major
1 point
competitions.
Again. That's so mad.
Only 1 point, exactly. So only 1 point, but that was it. That was our best season under Klopp, in terms of, if he looked at it statistically, if you look at it, the amount of games we played, the injuries that we had, the fact that we made signings that helped Diaz coming in, that came at the right time, that really gave us that boost from January to the end of the season. We just weren't able to get the job done, man. But 84 games, take away the big injury. Take away the big injury, 84, take away the big injury there.
It's mad, because Firmino is missing. Firmino is missing games as well, which is again, you're starting to question, because you're like, right, Firmino, like, he wasn't, he was calm before, to my knowledge, anyway, he was fine prior to coming to Liverpool, and then now you're starting to kind of, miss games, so to speak. He only missed 2 in that season. 19-20, he's not on the list. 18-19, he only missed 4. Like, so his name is cropping up a couple of seasons, but that season obviously he's missing 16 matches. So you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, like, I don't really want you missing so many games, but it's not a concern, so to speak.
But I think if we recall, that was a season where we're looking at it and thinking, do we check it? Do we catch in on Bobby?
Yeah,
because we're not sure
we had Jota
leaving yet. We're not. We had Jota. We're not sure Mane's leaving yet because Mane was in the team. He moved into the centre because Diaz came on the left. And when Mane went into the centre forward role, it's like he got rejuvenated, especially after winning the AFCON and was scoring goals. He was effective. We saw in the Champions League final again. He was performing to a top level. Diaz was performing really well. We're looking at Bobby, and there's the discussion: do we get rid of Bobby now? Is it time to cash in on Bobby because he's missed 17 games? And it's like, as fans, we're starting to see the correlation between the amount of injuries certain players are getting and cashing in on them. Before 16, 17, 17, 18, maybe because of where we are, we're not looking at Henderson missing 12 games as an issue. We're not looking at Lallana even missing 17 games this season or Sturridge missing 10 as an issue, because we're just like, they miss games and it's fine. Like, he's going to miss some games. Because of where we are as a club and we're understanding how vital it is to keep our team fit. We need you under 10. We need you to miss under 10 games. If you're missing more than 10 games, you're a cause for concern. 17 games in a season where Liverpool are challenging for every trophy, he surpassed the requirements. Subconsciously, you're looking at it thinking we actually don't need you because you weren't available for the majority of the season.
No, it's true. These are the conversations, guys. I mean, you might not want to remember them, but they were the conversations that was happening with players like Firmino, as great as he had been and stuff like that. At the end of the day, football it continues on regardless of anybody. So when we're looking at someone like Firmino, it's not to say because we think he's poor. It's just more because, well, if you get injured and that those injuries are starting to pick up a bit more, and I think we'll probably see it more in the following seasons, then of course, we definitely have to have that kind of conversation. But yeah, in terms of the injuries for that season, of course, 84 that's our lowest number, I think. Yeah, that we've seen so far. So yeah, it's definitely something to be happy about as in the medical team anyway.
So up to this point, we've got 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21, and 21, 22. Out of those seasons, we've had one season, 2020, 2021, where we missed an abnormal amount of matches.
Yeah.
So we went over the 100 game mark. So the 100 games missed by the club in the Premier League, we went over that by a massive amount. Massive injuries again. Let's see if we recap to Van Dijk, Gomez, and Matip. Obviously, Tsimikas becoming injured. Henderson, Chamberlain, Thiago, Jota, all over that 10 game mark. So that was a massive, obviously cause for concern. We've got a lot of chopping and changing. Jim Moxton is still head of the medical department, the guy that came in 2016. So, after this season, after 21-22 that we're at, some of us may have looked at that and been like, and looked at those injury concerns as a cause for concern. Others would have said, you know what, that was a blip, because every other season we've been fine. From a medical standpoint, maybe the medical team look at it and Klopp look at it as that was a blip. That's not supposed to happen. If two of those players are not injured, we're still probably under the 100 game mark. And we probably have a better season overall. We had a good finish, still got into the top 4. But from winning the league and challenging in the Champions League right up until the last, right until the last stages, to being dunked on, dropped out, it was madness. A lot of optimism. How did you look at? That's wanted to ask. How did you want to go? How did you look at 2022 going into 2022-2023? So going into the season after the quad challenge, should I say?
So 21-22. How did I look at 21-22?
Yeah. No, so 21-22. Obviously that's just finished. We're going into 22-23. How did you look at the season gone before, and then looking at the season that's the upcoming season before the signings of Nunes, etc.?
Oh yeah, don't remind me. So I think it's come up to the. No, I'm joking. Don't kill me, guys. I think I'm getting to that point where I'm like, okay, we've just obviously had that successful season, and as Jerry said, being battling on all fronts, doing really well in the Premier League, finished second, point, blah blah blah, whatever. But I'm also looking at it thinking, as Jerry mentioned before about the conversations we were all having about like Firmino's and players like this, is it going to be time? Now, obviously, we know Sadio Mane, obviously, of course, he leaves in the summer, goes off to Bayern Munich. So we're all looking at that thinking, all right, well, we've got Luis Diaz, so we just need to bring in, someone else, and obviously the signing of Nunes comes in, and I'm sure at the time we're looking at it thinking, oh, are we going to do a Diaz, Nunes, Salah kind of combination? To be fair, the combination that everybody's been asking to see even now, you know, at times or at points in the Premier League season. So I'm just looking at more thinking, can we just get rid of the waste, the Oxlade-Chamberlains, the navigators, and not because they're not talented, but because, as Jerry has shown, these guys are picking up injuries, and they're picking up quite a bit of injuries every single season. So do we maybe just get rid of these guys and maybe freshen up the team a little bit more heading into that season? Obviously, Jerry will show us like the image, but I don't think we knew what was about to happen with the team going into that season anyway, in terms of how we were going to perform in the Premier League, because obviously it turned out to be one of our worst seasons. That
the
we've
one
had,
thing
if
I
not
want
our
to go
worst
and
season.
say, and the one thing I want to go and say, and I don't bring it up as often anymore because Liverpool do well, and I might get done in, and if we win the Champions League or Premier League. But I did say after this season we were going to have a massive drop off. I said I don't think for the next 5 seasons Liverpool win the Champions League or the Premier League. I stated that. I was confident after this final. After the final here, that was my statement. It's been 2 seasons so far, and obviously this season upcoming, obviously we'll have to wait and see. But 22-23.
Jesus. That's close to the abnormal mark, by the way.
It's close to the abnormal mark. Where, you know, take away the biggest injury we had, which was Naby Keita missing 28 games. We're still over the 100-game mark. You take away Thiago's injury as well.
We're still
under that. You take away Ramsey's mark.
We're still there.
We're still there. So this season, not only was it compounded with only did we suffer because of the injuries, it was compounded by the fact that we lost a lot of players, a lot of our core. So, and I don't want to say core in terms of, you know, what we saw this season as an example, but, you know, Thiago's not available, Keita's not available. We're still obviously waiting on Mane is obviously gone. That's a big loss. And yeah, something's just not right this season. Arthur that comes in, misses 15 games and then doesn't play for the rest of the games season. So,
and guys, obviously we'll add context. Ultimately, not all of these injuries that these players are having are just from the medical staff. Some of them are just game injuries, and like the Van Dijk one, man clattered into him, and you know, all of that kind of stuff. So of course, not every single injury in terms of how many games they miss is going to be because of the medical team or because of Jurgen Klopp. It's just going to be, right, man just clotted into my leg, like broke my leg, or he did this and he did that. So fair enough. But most of them are not that. Most of these are injuries that you're looking at and you're thinking, Ramsey, I know I heard people tell me it was something to do with growing pains and like whatever that was, growth spurt, whatever that was, cool. By Tecic, obviously missing 12 games. Arthur coming in. Arthur came in to be a backup. Wasn't deemed fit enough. Played obviously those 13 minutes against Napoli in the Champions League. Then started playing some under-21 football and stuff like that. And still got himself injured somewhere in training. I don't know how, but he got injured, of course, in training. Thiago, again, his numbers up there, you know, up there as always. Diaz, we know what happened. He got injured, I think, against Arsenal in that Arsenal game. But we're seeing more players being added to the list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19 players. Now we're seeing that number of players now are getting injured on top of what we actually even have available. Henderson's number went down. His has only gone down to 1, but he's having to play more games now. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, that's the kind of season that we were having. It wasn't only that the team, in terms of their level, as Jerry mentioned, having that drop off, that was probably always going to happen because of the amount of effort we're putting in. But bro, I'm seeing more players getting added to the list. These are players that Klopp has signed, you know, by the way. These ain't even just like Brendan Rodgers players, you know, the Ramsey's coming in. Obviously, Nunez missing 6 games. Diaz, we know, obviously, Wagwan. But Jota, again, 16 games that he's missing. Naby Keita, 28. You know, Chamberlain being Chamberlain. Thiago, 19. Bajcetic, Arthur, Konate, missing 10. This is where we start to see, yo, Konate, yeah, he missing games, man. He missing a lot of, you know, quite a few games, you know, kind of thing. Gomez, Matip, you know, that's 3 centre-backs. They're all missing, what's that, 10 matches between them. You know, so yeah, this was when it starts to get a little bit alarming. And this is where people then, and I remember all the discourse on social media and stuff like that, people, you know, really laying into the medical department and, you know, Klopp and his intensity. And unfortunately for the timing of Pep Linder's book, Intensity, that kind of came out, and, you know, we were all getting onto all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, like, this is mad. 185 games. The other one was what, 210? I think it was 210. I think
210. Yeah, 210 in 2021.
And the caveat, and the caveat to that was Van Dijk and Gomez obviously getting those kind of freak injuries, right? That was the caveat,
and
so to
Matip as
speak.
well.
In that
And
season.
Matip was 26.
And Matip. So you're saying those 3, your 3 centre backs missing a large portion of Premier League football. Then in in that 22-23 season, we're missing barefoot. Bro, like I said, man, this is where people really were starting to ask questions. And Naby Keita, Firmino, Thiago, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Matip a little bit. All these players now, people are really trying to, like, that's where the conversations are really starting. Like, yo, should we just sell these guys? Like, should we just get rid, kind of thing? But
yeah, it's mad. I'm looking, and there's 9 players. If you include Chamberlain, that obviously missed 9 games, he's close to that 10 mark anyway. That kind of assess that's kind of the danger zone. If you're missing 10 games in the Premier League or more, it is a problem. This is crazy. Like, this is, like, actually looking at it in hindsight, I feel sorry for the likes of Fabinho and Henderson. I know at the time we didn't. At the time we were cooking them and we're like, nah, they're not doing good enough. But they were, you know, we were supposed to be able to rotate, as you said, in the season where we rotated a lot. This season, you know, we had less injuries. I guess more people were fit. But, you know, Fabinho's missing 2 games. That can happen. Thiago's missing 10. Keita's missing 6. But they're able to go and help, you know, Henderson out, help Fabinho out. In this season, Henderson's having to play every single game.
Yeah.
In the Premier League anyway. And he's the one that's being scapegoat. Like, when I think about it, it's a bit mad. It's like scapegoating the guy. It's like imagine you're the owner of a business, and let's just make it simple for somebody. Let's say a chicken shop, a chicken shop, and the chicken shop's not doing well. Yeah, it's not doing well. Like, it making profit last month. This month it's not doing well. Do you know what I mean? Your marketing kind of plan isn't really working. You're not bringing customers in. No one's really coming in. The chicken tasting rubbish when the people do come in. But you're grilling the guy that's there every single day. But you got my man calling in sick. You got my man that's not turning up. You got my man that's being fired. But the guy that's there, we're getting onto, saying, "Oh, he can't make my chicken properly." You're dashing the chips in his face when he's serving them to you. To the point.
By the way, this is a look, guys, into Jerry in school times. By the way, this is Jerry dashing the chips.
Sack him. Do you know what I mean? He's got ketchup all. Do you know what I mean? Henry's got ketchup all over his face, and he's still working, still trying to fry up chicken. He's looking at the queue. It's getting bigger as more games are accumulating, and he's there. He's trying to also help my man Nunez out. Do you know what I mean? Put his hairnet on and get used to frying the chips, but he's not doing them properly. But we've got people
just look at crispy in that. Like, I don't want that, bro.
Yeah. But we've got the players that have been at the club for a long time now. So Jota been at the club for a long time. Diaz, obviously, that's an unfortunate injury. But Robertson, that was supposed to come in and help, do you know what I mean, challenge and do what Bradley's done this season. You've got Konate that's out from a defensive standpoint. Arthur, Bajcetic, Thiago, Chamberlain, Keita. Arthur, Bajcetic, Thiago, Chamberlain, and Keita. That's 5 midfielders. 5 midfielders that in the season were expected to go and help this team out of an 8 that we had, right? Because we had 8 midfielders available. They weren't available. It's mad.
And it's mad because then you think Like you said, obviously 5 out of 8, and then obviously because they're all getting injured, like it starts to drop off like flies. But Tetric has to then come in to help out, and then he gets injured anyway towards the back end of the season. And Arthur, the Arthur one makes me laugh the most because Donny was signed on loan to help us out during the situation, and he didn't play. He played one game, and that was it. That we didn't see him again. We didn't see that 13 minutes of football for Liverpool is what he can put on his CV. If he's even allowed to put that on his CV, I don't even know if that counts.
I don't know, man. That's just induction day. You know, when you go
literally
for half a day and look around, you're like, this is gonna be your form.
Literally, bro.
Like, you don't turn up to the school, you get shipped off to Accra or something. It's mad. But I'm looking at it now, and this is a worry. So, 185 games. We signed Nunes, we signed Carvalho. It seems as though we've got more squad depth. We go and even sign Gakpo in the January as well. And of course, we have a good finish towards the back end of the season. Jones obviously gets introduced into the team also, but we've got a bigger squad, yet we're having more injuries. And to know, 22-23 on the eve of our first Premier League game, who decides to go and leave? Jim Moxon, our club doctor. The one that, before that period, had one season, the anomaly, 2020-2021, where we missed 210 games in the Premier League through injuries of our players, with a lot of players missed out as well. This season just looks horrible. Horrible. It's actually worse than that season because it doesn't look like an anomaly.
Yeah. Because now
there's no big major injury. There's no big major injury. Where's the 30 plus player that's been injured? That hasn't.
The closest one is obviously Keita being 28, but like this is where now you're like, yo, Klopp and this medical team, you don't need to start patterning up because we allowed you the season before because Van Dijk obviously had a mad injury. Gomez as well had a mad injury. Matip's obviously injured, fair enough. But then when we now going into the next season, we're still getting the same, number of players getting injured, and the number is really getting higher in terms of the amount of some of these players. So that's where the conversation for me really start to hit its heights, in terms of, like, do we need to? Obviously, I know Jim Moxon left at the eve of the thing, and I think Liverpool didn't have a doctor for a long. This is when we found out that we didn't have a doctor for a while.
Liverpool didn't have a doctor until March.
Till March.
2020.
So you're saying
2024, where John Powers came in.
So you're saying, that from August, let's just use August as being the beginning of the season, from August till March. So really, there's only 2 months, 3 months of football that he was able to realistically manage, so to speak. So for that long, Liverpool, and this is why that season that Liverpool had last season looked so much worse because stuff like this is going on. What do you mean you don't have a doctor till March? How does that even make sense? So who's patterning up all these injuries that we're getting, and we're getting a lot of injuries, and players are not recovering really well after games because Jordan Henderson, someone who's getting older, but he's playing more matches because players are obviously getting injured. He's having to play a lot more games. Harvey Elliott, remember him? Obviously had that mad injury in the season, or season or two before that, but he's having to play a lot more matches, just because we don't have the players. Jones, obviously we know how important Jones became towards the back end of the season. Again, Jones only came in because we had so many injuries. If we didn't have the amount of injuries, I don't think we would have seen Jones the way that we saw him at the back end of that season.
And it's mad when you look at it because he's only missed 3 games last season with that eye injury.
And this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
After that, it was just Klopp just didn't use him. It's like Klopp just said, I'm not putting you in the team for whatever reason that might have been, which is a bit mad, to be fair, when you look at the amount of injuries we had.
Yeah, because we was trusting too much of I think that's when, again, that's what I'm saying, that everything just got, in my opinion, just accentuated. It was just, you saw the loyalty, you saw, the fact that Klopp couldn't, adapt really well within this kind of situation. When the going got tough, he just said, I'm going to stick with my loyal soldiers. I'm going to stick with the guys that I know, the Hendersons, the Milners playing at left back against Manchester City and them type of right back against Manchester City and them kind of things there. So this is where you really are having that conversation, and that's why the discourse around Klopp wasn't even just solely on, oh, the team's just doing shit, just get rid of him. It's no, we need to start adding in the other factors. And obviously, as you guys know, this is where I was a big advocate for Klopp to leave, because I was like, well, the reality is you don't even seem like you know what to really do within this situation. On top of the injuries, fair enough, I can give you some type of a blind, because obviously if you got players injured, it is what it is. But then we need to start looking deeper. Are the injuries, are they a mixture of yourself plus match day stuff, or is it just match day and I can only blame the matches, the players are always getting injured, or, you know, during games? Well, no, because we're seeing players who aren't able to come back, and then I'm seeing the same players that you're trying to rely on, they're the ones who are getting injured on top of that as well, Thiago's and, you know, people of that kind of ilk. So yeah, there was a lot, man. That season was a lot still. It was a lot.
Yeah. Now, of course, we move on to this season. So now we get our doctor. We've got John Powers in. You know, starting this season, there was talk of, obviously, we wanted Klopp out, notoriously. Do you know what I mean? Not because we think he's a bad manager, but because of all these things compounded, we thought it would take a mental toll. Now, as it comes out now, do you know what I mean? As we're speaking, Klopp's obviously announced a month ago or so that he is actually leaving the club because it's too much now. So I guess our thought process was right. We just jumped to, he had to take time to get to that decision. We saw it a bit earlier. Obviously, it will still be a sad day for the club, but this is this season, and this is as of the 21st of February 2024. It does not count certain players such as Jones, Nunes, Jota, that will not be playing in tonight's game against Luton Town, because we've got Luton Town tonight.
Yeah.
So far, go on.
No, please go ahead, because I think you're going to say what I'm about to say anyway.
So far, we have missed 132 games this season through injury. The biggest injury being Thiago's one, who looks like he'll be out until the end of the season, but he will definitely not be. He looks like he's going to touch that 30 mark.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Matip has missed 11 games so far, but has been ruled out for the rest of the season. So technically, in the Premier League, we have it's 26. So we've got 12 more games left in the Premier League after today.
Yeah.
So he's got 13 games left. If you add that 13 to there, you're looking at 24 games missed this season. But Cetic, another one that's a doubt for the rest of the season. Bradley was out earlier this season. Szoboszlai is at 14 right now. We don't know how long that's going to be out for.
Trent, we know he's going to miss a couple more games as well. Trent could easily hit that 10 mark, you know, if he's not careful. Trent could easily hit that 10 mark.
Chat to me, G. So we've gone from 84 in 21-22 in the Premier League to 185 last season. We're on course for 160, maybe. Not adding, Salah, how long is he going to be out for? Jota, how long is he going to be out for?
Well, let's put it this way. Alisson, we know, is definitely... Alisson sounds like he will get just under 10. So maybe he will just miss just under 10. And who knows, it could be a bit longer. But let's say just under 10. Ben Doak will pass 10. We know that. So he's out for the rest of the season. He's not going to play any Premier League football anyway. Trent could hit just under 10. Salah, under 10. Jota, definitely over 10. Thiago, over 30. Matip, however many you said there, 20-something kind of thing. So Szoboszlai could hit just under 20. Like these numbers, these numbers are really, really going to be quite high. And it's not even like you've got a bag of players being injured this time. It's not like you've got like 20 players and you're like, okay, you're just dividing it between the 20 players. Like this is not that big of a number in comparison to other seasons. And they've already missed, as of the 21st today, the 132 games. Yeah, this is why people get onto the medical team plus Jurgen Klopp's style of play or intensity and stuff like that, because of these kind of numbers here. Again, I know Jota missed, obviously he got injured. It wasn't anything to do with style of play. It was just the guy landed on his knee, and obviously that kind of fucked it up. Fair enough. I get all of that, but that's not to say that for everybody. You know, even Robbo, I'll give him a blight because of that injury that happened against Arsenal, kind of thing. But Not Arsenal, sorry, Simicast was against Arsenal.
His
But
one
some of
wasn't
these other ones,
duty. It wasn't international duty.
it was international duty. So again, I'm not getting onto everybody here, but there are some players like your Zabozalais, like your Trent Alexander-Arnolds, the Thiagos of this world. I am looking at and I'm like, by Tečić, Matip obviously is Matip. Kanate will get to 5. I can see that guy missing 3 more games somewhere between now and the end of the season. You know, McAllister might miss a couple more games. I think like these are kind of players I'm just looking at. And again, Salah's numbers will go up because it will miss obviously tonight's game. I think I'm not 100% sure. I think. So when I'm looking at it, again, this is why people are going to continuously, keep looking at Klopp and looking at things. We can keep using it's unlucky. He got injured in this match and that match. For me, it's not even the fact that you're getting injured in the games. It's, all right, so when you're coming back, right, why is it these guys are getting reoccurring injuries? Why is the Bozolai getting a reoccurring injury? Why is Thiago getting a reoccurring injury? Why is Trent getting a reoccurring injury? Like, why? Allison, what the hell are you doing in games or in training or wherever it is you're picking up these injuries? Why are these things continuously happening? By Tečić, when are you coming back? Like, why is the recovery taking so long when it wasn't, we weren't touted for that, for you to have this amount of time off? This is why people are going to start, and this is why I will now get onto Klopp more so, and the medical department equally, because I'm like, yo, you guys ain't doing something right. Like something's going wrong here, in my personal opinion. But I don't know what you think in that regard.
Jim Moxon, I think when I look at it, Jim Moxon leaving was a massive blow for Liverpool because we've got a club doctor in place now. And technically, we should still be able to be under that 100 mark with any big injury. We take out one big injury, the biggest injury of season. We should be under that 100 mark. We've done that every single season, bar 2021, where we had the Van Dijk injury and the Matip injury, and that whirlwind of a season. On average, I know you actually got the stats up for us. How many? Do you remember how many games per season have we missed per season? Well, how many games have our players missed out through injury per season since? So I think since 16-17.
Yeah, since 16-17. So up until today's date, so obviously that number is going to fluctuate. Liverpool have missed 132. Liverpool players have missed 132.75 matches. So we'll say 133.
Yeah, on average every season.
Every single season.
Looking at that, then we are currently at
our average
32 games. We're at our average. So we are going to go above average.
Yep.
We could potentially get around this figure. It will be madness if we got to this number.
Yeah, I think we need more players injured for that.
But I think it will be around the 180 mark for the season.
Yeah.
Based on that, then, Liverpool are, and this is what I wanted to ask, and I want everyone in the comments as well, because we've been talking for a long time. So the members, please let us know. Based on that, then, can Liverpool go and attack every competition and win every competition, including, I know with the Carabao Cup's on the horizon, but the Europa League and the Premier League that we're in, FA Cup obviously is there as well, and do we have the capacity to go and do that, or do Liverpool need to go and sacrifice a competition or two in order to prioritize? So, the amount of games that we go and play isn't now 60, 70 games. It drops to maybe 50 games because we sack off the FA Cup and sack off the Europa for the Premier League, vice versa, in order to keep the squad fit enough to challenge for a trophy that you may potentially want.
If you talk about me personally,
I
want the Premier League more than anything else. I don't really care about the other competitions like that. They're just sub competitions to me. So I'm like, oh, if you win them, great. I don't really care. So I would end up just saying like, yeah, I'd rather you just sack off the rest and just make sure you can keep everybody fit for the Premier League running, especially because the league table is so tight. It's not like we have a mad lead over anybody. So we can't really look at this and think, oh, we've got a 6-point lead over City or Arsenal, where we've got a bit of a leeway where we can have 2 crappy games somewhere in that kind of run, and it's not a problem. This one is, bro, you lose one game, you could be third. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, yeah, for me, I'm like, I'd much rather that. Listen, I'm not saying don't try, but I'm just saying I just wouldn't be using my best players for certain matches. So the FA Cup game against Southampton, against Southampton that we've got coming up, I'm not playing any one of the big boys. I don't care. Play Clark and McConnell and Beck and Scanlon, whoever. Play any of those guys, I'm good with that. Trey Onini, Enyoni, like I'd play him. I'll just play him, see what he's like, get him some minutes, I'm not taking those competitions as serious because I at least want you to, at least the Europa League and Premier League, I'm looking at those two and saying, at least those two, just get as far as you possibly can and then assess it when players start coming back, by that point. But yeah, FA Cup and that, nah, man, I can get two shits really about that competition.
So essentially what you're saying is you want to go and scrap, take what fifth round, does it go quarterfinals after that if we beat Southampton?
Yeah.
So quarterfinals, semi-final, and there's no double. It's not double legged, is it? So 3 games. So you're looking to sacrifice 3 games in which Liverpool can win a competition that you're saying is supplementary, which I understand. Instead of playing 23 games, we play 20.
Yeah,
or would
I'm
you
good with that.
sacrifice the Europa as well?
I wouldn't.
Because sacrificing the FA Cup means that we're taking away. Well, if we beat Southampton, so let's say 4 games, right? We've got Southampton the 5th round. If we beat that, we go into the quarters, then we got semis, then we got finals. So that's 4 games.
Yeah.
Currently, if we were to go and go all the way to the final in the Europa League, it's 7 more games from this point on.
Oh, is it set? Okay.
2 round of 16s, 2 quarters, 2 semis, and 1 final.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have 12 games left in the Premier League after today's game.
So how many matches is that? 12, 7, 19...
24.
24. So you're saying
you're looking to sacrifice 4 games, and you think
4
games will make the difference. But you think 4 games make the difference between Liverpool winning the Premier League and not winning the Premier League, based on what we're talking about?
Yeah, because I'm sure we had a number up there before, and we looked at there was a season where we had the drop off was only by 4 games. I can't remember which years it was, and I was like, imagine is it? I can't remember, maybe it was something. Yeah, 122 and 118.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? 4 games was the difference between us winning it and us losing it, and it was only the difference by 1 point. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So when I look at that, obviously I'm not, guys. I know I'm not. It can't be correlated. It's not linear like that. I get it. But when I do look at it, I do think to myself, how important is it? You want to win every trophy that you're in. That's the aim of football. I get that. But the reality is there are priorities within that. And when you're in this position in the Premier League, you have to go hammer and tongs for it. I'm sorry. We're not in Arsenal's position where you're like, we're third and, we've never really won it and we don't really know. We are a team who have won it and we are top of the league. So I'm saying you go for it. But at the same time, I'm not saying I'm just not going to play my best players. Obviously, they'll go out and try. I know they will. They will try their best. If their best does well enough, then calm. Then, you know what I mean? It's the best of both worlds. But if you're asking me, would I risk playing Trent when he comes back in the FA? No. Would I risk playing Zaboza? No. I'm not playing none of these guys in those competitions. For me, it's the Premier League, and I'll take that as a successful season for Liverpool, and we move. And we literally move.
It's mad. It's mad for me. This is what I was going to say. It's mad for me because I've been arguing for the past week with Judge Mo on Judge Mo's channel, in the chats, with Ben, with Grizz, with whoever, Tom, Hussam. Liverpool cannot afford to sacrifice a competition. Because as we've discussed, we're an emotional club, so we need to kind of be in every competition to have that. We can't. We're one that needs we're a momentum club. We need to be in a lot of momentum to perform well. And I think game to game we do well than when we've had long breaks under Klopp. And secondly, if we were to sacrifice the Europa League and the FA Cup, for instance, so take away the 7 + 4 games, right, which is 11.
Yeah.
If we don't win the Premier League and we end up with just the Carabao Cup, I don't think my, and I'm going to be very emotional. I don't think my heart could take the narrative surrounding Liverpool and Klopp. The banter that would ensue would be so bad that the media would be so bad in terms of Klopp the flop, Klopp failure. But
you must have that in your back pocket, bro.
no. I literally just thought of it, but it's like,
that's so Klopp.
What Klopp leaving the party without a goodie bag? Like, he's not even leaving Liverpool with a goodie bag. He's leaving with a Carabao Cup, and that's it. And the Carabao Cup would have been so far away from the end of the league.
Yeah, from
the last day of the Premier League or the last day of whatever, that the idea of Liverpool sacrificing it means that our opportunity to win more games has gone. Like, win more trophies has gone. And that's my worry. And that was my fear. However, looking at the data, and Liverpool are a data-driven club, so we've gone down this route. The seasons we've been most successful have all been seasons where, bar a big injury to one of our players, so taking away a Virgil van Dijk in 2020-21, or taking an injury away from Klein in 17-18, or Ings in 16-17. That's how far back we're going. Liverpool have always had a successful season in terms of the objective that we wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
Under that 100-game mark. So in between 100 and 125 games or so, we're already at 130. And that is massively. And remember, the average that you said, it was 132.75 games or games that are missed out for injury.
Yeah.
We're already at the precipice of that with 28 games left to go on average, or 27 games, and if we were to go, or 24 games, if we were to go to every single game up until the end of the season, or 25 games, and it just doesn't look feasible. It doesn't.
That's what I'm saying.
Feasible. Like, remember that number 132.75 is skewed by the fact that we had one season where we had 210 games missed through injury.
So this is what I'm saying is that, like,
we're gonna have to. We may have to sacrifice the better good of Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Now,
and that's what I'm saying.
We may have, and this is what I want to caveat this: if Liverpool manage to go and win the Premier League, let alone the Premier League and the Europa League, and pick up the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup along with the Premier League, this will be the biggest achievement Klopp's ever done in his footballing career.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Because the amount of injuries that we're having means that technically, from what I'm seeing, the trend does not align with what's going on this season. So it's impossible. Technically, it's impossible for Liverpool to go and, not impossible, but it's very unlikely for Liverpool to go and challenge on all four fronts like we did this season, win the Premier League like we did this season, and win the Champions League and miss out by the Premier League by a point. Miss out on the Premier League by a point in this season.
But one thing I will say to that, whilst I agree, this season has also taught me that with everything that's kind of gone on, it seems like that type of abnormal season anyway, because of the way that we've looked at this, like how Liverpool have just, obviously last season, obviously me and you, we did not think that Liverpool would be sitting first at this point in the season. You know, we didn't think that the team would be able to bounce back. Obviously, I thought there'll be other teams like Chelsea, Manchester United who would do a bit better, kind of thing. But ultimately, Liverpool are top of the league. I did not expect that, and I did not see that. I couldn't see any reason why people would see it anyway, just because of how the team was so bad last season. To then change it around this season. And I also didn't think that Man City would have dropped off the way that they kind of have this season as well. So it's almost that kind of abnormal season, because you think about it, this season, it's not like we've been playing well. It's not like we've been, oh my God, blowing teams off the park kind of thing. Like, it hasn't been that type of season, and we're still top. We're still top. So it's already abnormal in my eyes. So if that does happen, agree with you, man. It will be the best achievement, and hey, Klopp will be leaving on a high like that. Imagine
Yeah,
leaving,
he'll be leaving
the
more with a
club
goodie
winning
bag.
everything.
He'll be leaving
Yeah,
more with a goodie bag. That's for certain.
exactly,
But
exactly.
I guess that's the discussion we've got to have, man. Like, is in as fans, do we want to go and go with the spirit and the abnormality of football and the fact that anything's possible and dream that Liverpool can, regardless of the circumstance, win something, which is obviously, I guess, part of being a fan at times? Or do we look at it from a more logical standpoint and have a look and say, actually, us being at 132 games with still 20 games more to be played means that number could be compounded and multiplied dramatically by the end of the season, depending on how things go. Because let's check the madness, touch wood. Every game now, as some people are saying, it's a cup final. What happens if, Virgil van Dijk goes up for a header, lands and grabs his knee and goes, then what? Then what? Then it's a back line of like Konate, Gomez, we've got Bradley and Tsimikas. It starts to get a bit techie. Or Kwanzaa,
they're good players, but I know what you mean. Like, you don't want to be missing someone like that.
No, but
listen,
that alongside everyone else, it just looks like the spine of your team. This is like post Klopp, like in the era, like 5 years from now, that's the kind of team you would see where Van Dijk's not in the team, Salah's not in the team, Trent's left for Real Madrid in some alternate reality, and you're left with this, which is a decent team, but maybe not good enough to win the league and the Europa League.
Listen, man, I just think when I'm thinking about it now, it will be his biggest achievement. That's all I know, is if he's able to pull this off, he's definitely going to have people saying, "No, don't leave, man. Stay. You got the energy." And red. But the data tells me that it's not going to happen. And I just think that my predictions have changed, obviously, since the beginning of the season. Of course, like Liverpool sitting top of the league, we're through to the next round of Europa, in Carabao Cup final, next round. Like, it had to change regardless of how much I wanted to potentially, or I logically thought it would be different. But when I look at it, I just don't see it happening, though. I think we will pick up a trophy or two, like one of the cups and stuff. That league is the one. And again, missing 132 games already. Yeah, and we still got tricky games coming up. You know what I mean? It's not just Manchester City. Everyone thinks, oh, that's the hardest game we've got left. Nah, I know we've got not Newcastle. I know we've still got teams like Villa and stuff like that, to still face. So, yeah, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be tricky, and it's going to be interesting to see how Liverpool navigate. But one thing I know that Klopp will be doing is he's just taking it game by game. Who do I have available? I think he even mentioned it for tonight's game against Luton about having that 11. As long as I've got an 11, yeah, we'll go out there and do what we can do, kind of thing. So yeah, he's just got to take it game by game and not worry too much into the future. And then what will be will be. Do you get what I'm saying? All I'm saying is don't buck Leverkusen in the Europa League, because it could get long. Imagine Liverpool to face Leverkusen next round, like now. Yeah, long day. So I already know it's a long day.
Anfield,
Like,
we'd have to use Anfield, we'd have to use Anfield. Like, we'd have to try and
But remember, there's no away goals, Remember, there's no away goals. So it's not like, oh, we can get a 1-1 at Leverkusen's place and then we go back to Anfield and catch it. We got the away goal. Nah, this is, bro, you better pray that you just don't lose in that first game. And even then, does it even really matter? You need to kind of go out there and win. So yeah, I think it's going to be super interesting to see how the rest of the season pans out still.
It will be, man. It will be. But listen, that's been obviously our analysis on Liverpool's injuries. It's been in depth. I didn't think it would be that long. We've been on stream for an hour and 40 minutes. So, listen, I think this is that good. If members don't, plug this and try to get people to come on and view, we might have to release it in a couple of days to the public, man. Maybe, the members get a first view, and then, because it's been top, and I don't know if anyone's had a deep dive at the injuries like this. And I'm talking about Tifo, haven't, Anfield, Redmen, whoever. So, and obviously they've got a lot of resources. So, look, G, first of all, thank you obviously for obviously joining me. I think it's been very, very good to have you. I think it's been good to bounce ideas off. My conclusion is that the injuries it's a multitude of factors. From I think Jim Moxton leaving, I think it's a massive issue because I think other than that, the 2021 anomaly, he's still the club doctor in 21-22, where we only missed 84 games. So him leaving is obviously a problem. We need to get the best in class in that department again, because clearly John Powers isn't at the moment. Maybe he can become that. We still got a lot to fix off the field in terms of, we need to get a manager, we need to get a sporting director. So there's a lot of things we've got to think about. And then I guess it's just a battle of either heart and mind. Do you go with logic or do you go with belief? And that's where we're at with this, man. You go with belief, yeah?
No, I said there is no belief. My belief is as far as my logic goes. You know what I'm saying? I believe in my logic. So that's where I'm at with it. But again, happy to be proven wrong. Would love Liverpool to win everything. And again, much as me and Klopp have had the back and forth, it would be nice for him to leave on that kind of height. Do you get what I'm trying to say? But obviously, that's a conversation for another day, man. But no, it's been a good show. It's been a good show still.
It's been really, really good, man. Really, really good. But listen, people, guys, thank you so much for obviously tuning into this members exclusive. Make sure you are smashing a like on the video. Make sure you're heading over to GTV Football as well to get all your Liverpool content, your football content in general. I've actually got a question for G. When are we getting the scouting reports back?
So mad. I had the same question to myself the other day. I was like, when are we gonna start doing? But I said I'll probably start. I'm away, obviously, next week. So I said, as soon as I come back, I've got the players already done. It's just about actually doing them properly. And to be honest, I'm going to need to have you on for some of them anyway, because some of them are going to pertain to a few things for the summer. Obviously, we've got the Euros and stuff. I don't know if Jerry probably will do something, alongside like the Euros tournament. So yeah, everything's going to link together. And then obviously, of course, we've got the pitch and stuff. So everything's going to link as one. So you guys will be able to see how everything basically, goes along. So yeah, just stay tuned, guys. As soon as I come back, we'll be ready to go and hit it harder, man.
There you go, man. There you go. So guys, make sure you head over to GTV Football and subscribing over there and liking the last 5 videos. Just go and do that. Hit that thumbs up. It's just down there. The G side anyway, but just smash it. And yeah, guys, thank you obviously for tuning in. Make sure we're staying tuned. Make sure obviously appreciate you being members as well. The next members video is obviously going to be dropping, but you're going to have to wait for that one in terms of what that one's going to be about. But I already know anyway, and if we can get G on, that would be amazing. But until next time, people, it's been the Jerry James Show, and we are out. Take it easy.